Hey folks, welcome back to Gaming Garbage, where we take a look at games, chat about the gaming news in the industry, and of course, stream for fun. Today we're doing Gaming News Consolidated. This is November 10th through the 16th, and man, this week has been awful. There's been so much stuff. The idea is that we take a few hours every week. This was probably roughly 6 or more hours to look over different videos and articles and put it all in one place for you. And so, yeah, this is just a podcast. This is an old game that some of the guys and I did. We did a monthly event for a while, and lately, boy, it's just been too busy to actually do these, unfortunately. But yeah, this is with Lion and Panda and I, and yeah, this was a pretty fun one. So anyway, enjoy the gameplay, enjoy me dying and stuff. But yeah, we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. We're going to talk about some video games and how they're doing with numbers and sales. We're going to talk too about the Black Ops 6 Season 1 update. We're going to talk about an update with Pal World versus Nintendo lawsuit. We're going to talk about, let's see, some games getting delayed. Also some new adaptions. We're going to talk about, of course, what Phil Spencer just dropped with, like, basically going third party. And yeah, there's more too with, the handheld. And anyway, and there's way more. So let's get started. This is going to be a long one. Expect this to be at least an hour. But hopefully you guys are doing well. You can like, sub, all that jazz. And there's more too on the channel as well. So check it out, kind of at Gaming Garbage 22 over at YouTube. You can go ahead and use the playlist to get around on the channel. But hey, let's get started. So first we're going to talk about something kind of off maybe, but it does affect us, and it has been this year. Solar flare activity. It's honestly been pretty high, and it's been affecting our networks. We're also breaking some records with solar flares this year. So the amount of sunspots we've had is at a 23-year high. We've had also the highest daily count of sunspots since 2001. We've also had the highest count of X flares, which is the most powerful ones, since we've been keeping modern records since 1996. And so the most powerful we had ever was actually on October 3rd, just about a month ago, and that was an X9. Very, very powerful. We've also had a massive amount of CMEs, and they're basically what make auroras in our atmosphere. Up toward the Arctic Circle and stuff. And but we've actually been having some that have come down into even where I live, which is the 48th parallel, which is crazy. And yeah, the highest massive amount of CMEs was in May, creating widespread auras all over the place. And it's been the best display we've had in roughly 500 years. So this is getting pretty insane. And yeah, this was between October 10th, and we had another big one in October 10th and 11th for a couple of days. 2 different sessions we could actually see where I live here in Oregon, in the United States, which is, just wild. And why do these events matter? Well, it's because they screw with our signals that we use in the air. Anything that's wireless, even wired too, when it gets powerful enough, it messes with this stuff. It messes with satellite, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, servers, other wireless communications. It's contributed to phone outages this year, cloud services going down, internet going down, GPS issues with various companies and services, even some banking and financial issues. Which some of those have just been like, human error, of course, with like some updates that didn't go well for Windows. That was a really big one earlier this year. But some of them, too, have been also banking and financial issues. And yeah, these solar flares have really been causing some problems. So if you've had some weird outages or like haven't been able to send messages or receive things or even files with like Dropbox or something like that, or something going on with your TV maybe or something else, it could be attributed to solar flare activity this year because it's been really heavy pretty much since May to now. And we still have, going into 2025, some more possibilities for some other pretty big solar flare activity. Now, luckily, it hasn't, of course, been like a Carrington event, which was 1859, and there was a massive amount of radiation from the sun, and the Carrington event was huge. It completely like lit up the sky for multiple days. It also fried all of our Morse code transmissions. It even fried the wires. So you can imagine that took a while to fix. Messed up, yeah, the relay stations and all that with Morse code, with how they used to communicate back then. And imagine if that happened today. that would be really bad. And most of our stuff that we have isn't really prepared for something that huge. The Carrington event was really unique in the sheer size of how big it was. But we've had some bigger ones too that have been probably screwing around with stuff and just kind of constant bombardment since May. So just be aware. Excuse me. Just be aware of what's going on. And yeah, we still have until sometime in 2025 for this to probably keep going on until we get to the end of the sun's cycle, which is 11 years. And but yeah, it gets pretty powerful toward the end. But yeah, this is just some of the craziest activity we've seen in a long time. So just think of that as you're going on trips, as you're doing things or having outages for certain pieces of tech. It may not be the company, it may not be anyone else. It's just solar flare activity, and there's nothing you can do about that, unfortunately. So, let's see. Let's go ahead and get into Astrobot sales. So this game did really, really well, right? We're talking a 94 out of 100, and we did get some data. It sold 1.5 million copies in its first 9 weeks. And to me, that should be a little higher with how big it is, how big of a game. And it's basically Sony's biggest game this year. Concord was supposed to be, but we all know how that worked out. But I mean, PlayStation 5s have sold 65 million units so far. This would include this would just include base PS5s and Slims for right now. We will get more sales numbers for PlayStation 5 Pro when they've been out for a little bit, but only 1.5 million units sold for Astrobot. This also does not include PlayStation 4 and does not include PSVR because it's not made for those. We do have 4 coming DLCs that are free. There are a couple of others that I saw that are at cost. I don't have a PlayStation 5, and so I don't know personally about what those are for Astrobot, the ones at cost. But we did get some news a couple of weeks ago that there's going to be 4 DLCs that are coming through the rest of the year. And that had me curious too. It's like you have your best game, your best-selling game, and you're actually working on giving away multiple DLCs for free, almost like you just want to keep people playing or keep kind of providing more value so that you can maybe get more sales. That's normally kind of what happens, right, with these companies, is they see less than appreciated sales, and so they want to get more, and so they provide something basically for free. And getting 4 DLCs, that's quite a bit. Total revenue for right now is $90 million based off of that 1.5 million sales. I'm sure with the holiday, they will also get some more. And they probably made some money or at least broke even. We know with Spider-Man Miles Morales, which was a $50 game, and they used old assets as well. Their budget was $95 million just for the game. That didn't include marketing or anything else. But we know, too, that Miles Morales by now has also been profitable with selling roughly about 15 million copies. So they're doing pretty good. Astrobot, all new assets and everything, they're probably not quite there for breaking even, I would guess, because you still have to factor in all of the marketing and everything that they've done. So they probably need to be, my guess would be around 125 million, maybe 150 to actually break even, which sounds crazy. But I mean, we wouldn't even think that Miles Morales was also $100 million to make either. And yeah, the production costs of games has just gotten so expensive, so bloated. Same with TV shows and movies, and entertainment is incredibly expensive now. But we'll have to see what happens. To give you an idea of another game that did really, really well, that was 94 out of 100. God of War Ragnarok, and that sold 11 million units in 11 weeks. It was also exclusive. It was also, well, at least for quite a while, it was also a 94 out of 100. And yeah, if it was this big of a game like they're making it out to be, like they're presenting it to us as a general gaming community, you'd think it'd sell more than 1.5 million. Because yeah, God of War sold 11 million. A game that's maybe kind of close but didn't score as high is maybe Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. It's actually selling excuse me, a little better than the first 2 months of sales for Rift Apart. And Rift Apart was basically like a launch game. But yeah, it just seems low to me personally. We know too that Sony has been basically having a 7% margin, which is pretty low for the company. They're really looking for something that's maybe around like 20 or 30%, and for an entertainment company, and it just hasn't even really been getting close. And it's been kind of a excuse me for the cough, folks. It's unfortunately just kind of been really low. At one point, we were almost below 7%. We were almost at like a 6.5. But yeah, it has come up a little bit from last quarter. So they are getting a little bit more efficient at making some money. But yeah, 7% is still not a lot, because that means you put $1 in and you get 7 cents back. That's not great. Let's go ahead and talk about Pal World versus Nintendo. So we know that Nintendo loves to sue everybody, right? And we found out actually what the 3 patents are that Nintendo is suing Pocket Pair over. So one is throwing a ball to capture. Another is sending out an animal to engage with the world. Or even just... oh yeah, then that's the next one. The third one is basically riding an animal, being able to travel with it, or have like NPCs following you in the world. So those are the 3 patents. You can actually look these patents up on Google Patents yourself. They're available finally, and each patent was filed in 2021. They're still technically waiting for approval. These patents usually take anywhere from 3 to 5 years for approval. So it's weird that Japan is still technically waiting for this over here in the States. Which makes it kind of weird, because it's like, well, yeah, you have patents filed, but you don't have them yet. They're not even approved or anything. They're still sitting and being analyzed by the patent office. So yeah, they do technically though have a basis to file against Pocket Pair, because their patents have been there since 21. Pal World, as we know, launched this year in 2024. Sorry, all the years are starting to bleed together. And the demands against Pal World that we know of are 2 small fines, basically $60K each in US dollars, and then also being able to have an injunction against the game. Excuse me, which ultimately could be anything. If I was Pocket Pair, I'd work on retooling these 3 mechanics, which, I mean, it wouldn't be perfect. It'd be what it is. But otherwise, you could maybe work around the injunction. So maybe use a slingshot or a tranquilizer instead of throwing a ball at a pal. Maybe fight against the other 2, showing examples of other games like Monster Rancher, World of Warcraft, Digimon, Jak and Dexter. These are IPs that have used a lot of the same type of mechanics. And there's probably dozens of examples out there that you could take a look at, basically, for each IP. But it is interesting too, like Pocket Pair has the balls to really go against and make something really competitive against Pokemon. And yeah, I'm sure Nintendo didn't like that. It does make me curious though, is that they couldn't go for them after copyright, because ultimately they didn't have anything. And so we got that right here on the channel. And yeah, we got that correct. Because yeah, I think if they had something, they would have taken it down really, really quick, like they do with everything else. But yeah, that didn't happen this time, so they had to go at another angle, and so now they're going after these 3 patents that they have. And Nintendo is really good at actually making patents for their video games for a lot of different mechanics, or just how things are done. And the patents only last for so long, 20, 30 years, depending. And but again, like they've even done that with with Tears of the Kingdom, with some of the build mechanics in there and some of the different mechanics that they have, like the grapple wrist that he has, which, makes me curious about Just Cause 3, because you have a grapple, right? And Just Cause 4. So yeah, I don't know. There's some interesting stuff there, but Nintendo tries to really patent all of this stuff because, yeah, they want to protect their IPs. Because the only thing that really sells their Nintendo is their exclusives, right? Because they truly are exclusive for the most part. Excuse me. And so, yeah, Nintendo is purposefully going after someone that's innovating. And this is ultimately what's frustrating, because instead of innovating themselves, improving their product, they're making crappy products that really don't do anything, that aren't really any different, that are buggy as crap. Like, we made fun of it, their last Pokemon open world game last year. And, it's frustrating because they use all of this going after everybody to push the competition down and maintain their monopoly instead of actually innovating the type of stuff we would like. And yeah, that gets really frustrating. So yeah, I mean, I don't see though how they can really keep increasing the tech of their hardware and keep it at a price point of $300. So I think we're going to see roughly $350, $400 for the next console for Nintendo. We'll have to see. And then again, a bunch of games that's like, they're fun, they're good, but they're not like, wow, amazing. You know what I mean? And this is where this innovation really needs to come in for them, because I don't believe that if they keep pushing down everybody else, even unnecessarily, like streaming a game or putting it on YouTube, if they continue to do stuff like this, they're going to alienate their player base. There's always going to be some, of course, but some others are just going to go somewhere else. And we're actually already seeing that with actually Twitch sales in the last 7-8 years. So it's interesting. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens with Power World and Nintendo. We do know too, that Power World and Pocket Pair honestly have 3 other partnerships right now. One with Xbox, which is really just releasing the game on Xbox. We know the game is also releasing for PlayStation pretty soon, I think, or maybe it did actually release already, but it's supposed to relatively be like this year, probably by Christmas would be my guess. The other thing, too, is they also have a partnership with Sony to make Power World Entertainment for the marketing and merch side of things. And then they also have a deal with Crafted to make a mobile game. So if Nintendo really starts screwing with Power World on stuff, it's going to hurt these other partnerships. And these are also fairly big companies. And then you're picking a fight with 3 of them, not including the one you're actually going after, which is Pocket Pair, which also made roughly $500 million. So, I mean, they have money. So, yeah, we'll have to see. I'm actually very curious about this, because this could reset the precedent for making third-party competition for Nintendo, which would hurt their exclusives, hurt their probably console sales if you could get better games somewhere else. And this would force Nintendo to start innovating, start competing again, which I think honestly needs to happen. All right, let's talk about Black Ops 6. We got a Season 1 update. We get 1 new gun in each class. We get 2 new melee weapons. We get 4 special weapon attachments, which is Dragon's Breath from shotguns. We got a buffer stock, a burst fire conversion for the MX4 and the Compact 92. We're also getting the Armory, which allows you to unlock past guns in previous seasons that you weren't able to get to. And so, honestly, you'll never miss one that you want. You'll always be able to work toward that, which I think is great. We're also getting new maps. Extraction, Heirloom, Hideout, and Mid-Season, Hacienda. Also a Christmas Nuketown, and a Racket, one called Racket. These I haven't tried yet. I'll have to hop on there and see. But yeah, it's just really busy. We're also getting some new game modes. Ransack, which is basically fighting over gold on a map and bringing gold back and protecting your own stash during the same time. We're also getting Prop Hunt, woohoo, which I'm so stoked. I loved Prop Hunt in Cold War, and they're finally bringing that back. This will be likely mid-season, sometime in December. Multiplayer, we're getting we're getting new perks. So Shadow, which is a green one, lets you miss all of the traps passively. You don't have to worry about them. There's also shrapnel radar, which is a blue one, which lets blast damage reveal enemies, which is just kind of insane. There's also a new wild card called High Roller, lets you have 4 kill streaks instead of 3. So you can probably really stack like the cheaper ones at the beginning and then get a big one at the end maybe. Or basically each one just help you get to the next kill streak. That's basically the goal. And we're also getting a new kill streak called Hand Cannon. Ranked will also be launching on the 21st, so we're getting really close to that. Excuse me. I'm also hoping that with Ranked, we're going to be having a lot of the sweatiest of the sweats get out of the multiplayer lobbies, which they already feel kind of better already lately, though I haven't tried since the new season. But yeah, that would be nice. We're also getting a new zombie map, which is called Citadel. This is likely again in December before Christmas. There's also new gum, ammos, wonder weapons that will come with all of that. There's also a new event called Hit List. This will be mid-season. It'll help you unlock certain weapons and cosmetics. So honestly, that's a heck of a lot, honestly, for getting it for free. And they're starting out strong. Will they stay this way? I am not entirely sure. But yeah, we'll have to see with that too. Yeah, really strong first season. Really strong start to the game as well. Excuse my voice, folks. This will just be brutal trying to get through. Maybe it's affecting me more than you guys. I don't know. But yeah, it's very strong first season. I hope they can actually keep up with it because I guarantee you whatever the next game is, people might try it, at least with Game Pass, but then people are probably going to go back to Black Ops 6, just like with what they did with Cold War. So yeah, Cold War essentially ran for 2 years, 2.5, and yeah, Black Ops 6 might do the same thing. It'll be interesting to see. We're getting a new adaptation. This will be a movie by Lionsgate. It'll be based off of the Outlast games, the horror games where you're trying to survive and whatever. And we're assuming the first game, which is basically with just you in a camera having to search for batteries. And not sure how interesting this will be, actually. Are they going to do it just through the camera? Are they going to do it through third person? How closely are they going to follow the first game? Are they going to do several of the games, mesh them all together? We don't exactly know. But yeah, this will be done by Lionsgate. And kind of reminds me, if they do it as a camera, kind of reminds me of like the Blair Witch Trials, Cloverfield, Hardcore Henry. Those were all first person. And some of those can be pretty interesting. But again, there's also lower budgets as well. But Lionsgate is, of course, going to be a bigger budget movie. And yeah, we'll have to see. Personally, I'm not overly interested in Outlast, so I won't be taking a look at that one. But I will take a look at some reviews if someone else does it, and I'll let you guys know. Path of the Exile 2 Early Access is delayed for another 3 weeks. This will push it into December. And part of the delay is just needing time to switch stuff over from the first game. So what's really cool is that all of the microtransactions will transfer besides holiday stuff, and also your stash tabs that you've already earned in Path of the Exile. And it'll transfer basically over to the new game. And that's really, really nice, because with a lot of these live service games, including Call of Duty, a lot of the stuff doesn't transfer over. You buy it for the year, you blow all that money, and then you do it again next year, and you blow it all, and it's just, yeah. So then you have a good team or a good loadout or good items or whatever, or things that you think is really cool, for basically roughly 6 months, and then it all goes away and you got to do it again. So, and they do that on purpose, and it's very lucrative for them. It works. But I do think some people are waking up to this and just realizing how much money they're really spending because they're being forced to with inflation. And it's really tough to make ends meet for some people out there. And I think that's partly why we're seeing some of these change-ups, a lot of these layoffs, canceled games, closures of studios. And unfortunately, it's still going, though we haven't had anything recently, which is good. But we did have Private Division recently, which is kind of a bummer because they've been around for a little bit. But yeah, I think that's actually part of the news. I'll get into that later. If I don't, I'll try to bring it up again. Also, we're taking a look at Apex Legends. They're having pretty good falling numbers here. The director, CEO, basically was asked if Apex 2 was coming, and the director said no. Number 2 doesn't usually do as well. They're going to be sticking with 1 and just keeping that going. And so, but honestly, they're going to have to do something because on Steam Charts DB, 24-hour peak was 224,000 users. That's still a really good, healthy number. But again, their peak was roughly around 625,000. So they've lost 2/3 of their player base by now, and it's still downtrending. Like it's not going to be getting better. And I'm sure revenue is down also because of this, just like most live service games. Apex was number 12 on PlayStation Time Tracker, but it's not in the top 10 anymore like it used to be. Because again, those players are falling off also on PlayStation. And it's just kind of a slow, grindy death. The makers of Apex did say that they're hoping for 10 years, which again would be like 2027. I don't know if it can last that long. And then what are they going to do after that? It's the same with Siege, right? Siege has been the longest going. We're basically at 10 years now for Siege. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, you got to figure out something. Either whittle down enough so that you can be sustainable financially with a niche core of players, or innovate, or try something else completely. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But Apex is just slowly dying off. Also, let's talk about the First Descendant. It's also kind of falling hard. Steam Charts DB shows currently 14,000. Last time we checked, they were roughly about 45,000 players, and peak was 264K. Even I did some initial looks, but man, seeing the live service and microtransaction side of things, it's like this is not going to be sustainable. And it's built just like Outriders, where the grindiness doesn't just go up, it goes up exponentially with what you need. And so, which is again pretty normal, and it's incredibly challenging and difficult to actually be motivated, I guess. Because again, you're putting in so much time and you're not really getting much out of it. And it's not like you're really doing it for the experience because you've learned the game mechanics already. And it's not like you really want to go for another character because, again, it's like it costs money. There are ways, of course, to get those characters for free. But what happens when you get the ones that you want? Like, eventually, it's just not as meaningful. There's there's not as much purpose there. And so, yeah, First Descendant is really not doing great. 14,000. That's pretty that's pretty bad. So I don't know if they can really. They'll probably make it through the end of the year, is my guess. But their seasons also take a long time to come back. And let's say some of the players, they find another game they like better, like Black Ops 6, for example, and so they just move on. They don't come back. And I think that's honestly what we're seeing. I mean, 264,000 players down to 14,000. It's just painful. PlayStation Time Tracker shows that they're number 38 in the last 30 days. But yeah, they used to be in the top 15, so again, they're falling pretty good. Game's been out for 4 months, and they've already lost the majority of their players. This is a free-to-play model, and yeah, those microtransactions, they are crazy. I'm sure they're not getting better. We probably see maybe some sales with like Christmas or the holidays, and yes, I will say Christmas because that's what it is. And yeah, there's also Hanukkah too. And hey, if you celebrate something else, go ahead and put it down in the comments. I don't think we should just, have it be holidays only. We should have it be what it is, right? We shouldn't let people necessarily be offended about that kind of stuff. But yeah, they just have really slow seasons, unfortunately. And I don't know if they can make it a full 12 months. I think that'll be really hard and challenging. And live service is a tough sell. Again, there's just not as much money out there as there used to be. All the stimulus is gone. People got to pay their bills again. There's also less time to play. And so, yeah, you're just kind of picking and choosing actually what you would like to do. Right now, Steam has the score at a 55%, and it's actually fallen quite a bit. We used to be around, 75, 78, somewhere in there. And last time I checked. And yeah, it's only been out for roughly 4 or 5 months, and it's just not doing great. So yeah, we called that one. Also, we're taking a look at Multiverse. It was published by Warner Brothers. It's basically cost them, according to their revenue or their earnings call, $100 million. So they didn't make any money. Quote, we're learning that the game has been rushed basically at launch to get it to full release, so it wasn't ready, which they knew. And the company's got to quit doing this. I mean, they've been doing this since like 2015, and it's really getting old. And I'm glad more people are finally just stepping up and saying, "Look, no more." Because if it's going to be AAA, it needs to feel like AAA. You know what I mean? We're now at $300 million in losses for between Suicide Squad and Multiverse for Warner Brothers. Now they're just completely focusing on Hogwarts Legacy IP, and Multiverse was plagued with server lag crashes, heavy microtransactions. The grind was pretty bad too. You had to basically play every day. Then we also had OP characters like the Iron Giant that were just totally broken. They had to take out of the game, completely retool, and then bring them back. Which, yeah, I unlocked the Iron Giant. Is one of my favorites. And yeah, he was pretty flippin' OP. He was kind of ridiculous with certain moves if you knew what you were doing. I just want to state too that like studios shouldn't be forced to necessarily make stuff they don't want to make. Because again, we have all of these big kahunas that have come up there and they're at the top of the company and they're like, look, we should make this. And there can't be any pushback. Or they just don't care. Like they know better, right, than you do. And it's really frustrating because all of this push has been for live service to just make money. It's not actually trying to create characters, to create story. And I feel like Overwatch completely missed on this. They could have made an actual story with Overwatch 2 and had the multiplayer side to it with all of the microtransactions. And I think that would have gone over a heck of a lot better. Like with some of the older Splinter Cells or like Kill Zones maybe, or even with kind of like the older Halos, is like still have something attached to it. But it's like, I think they're understanding it now. But I don't think, again, all of these big publishers are understanding that the general player base is aging. The majority of us are somewhere between 25 and 35 years old, which is crazy. And we're not that fast anymore. We're not that grindy anymore. Life is busier. We have jobs. Some of us have families too. And it's like, we still want to play games. We still want to engage. But the companies just want to make live service and microtransaction stuff. And it's like, we just don't have the time. And again, you can tell that it's all about money because they're just releasing stuff before it's fixed. Star Wars Outlaws is another one. A game progression bug that totally screwed over players. And it's just like the fix is, oh, you have to start over. Really? Are you kidding me? Like, this is a AAA game, hundreds of millions, and you have a game progression bug pretty early in the game. It's disgusting. They shouldn't even be doing this. Yeah, it sucks. For Multiverse, Steam Charts DB has it at currently 1800 peak, so it's doing a lot better than Suicide Squad. But again, Multiverse was already taken off for roughly about a year and brought back as a re-release. And Lion and I played it a little bit, but again, the lag was real bad. There were other problems with it. The grind was too hard. OP characters. Yeah, it's just another, live service. Like live service is just becoming a bad word, unfortunately. Let's talk about Digital Foundry. So they took time to take a look at the PlayStation 5 Pro PS4 enhancement from last gen, and I will try to remember to actually link this below. It's a really good video because they take a look at multiple games and talking about their experience. But some of the games definitely have a boost in sharpness. We've been able to see this, though not all are going to notice. Games that run at 1080p will basically get a boost for this. Those that are made at 1440p, like PS4 Pro enhanced games, they're basically not going to get this boost, which is really weird because as we were sharing before, it's like, okay, this is a PS4 enhancement. It should enhance it somehow, in some way, at least graphically, make it a little more clear, or the upscaler should kick in, something. But all we're really getting is if it's not CPU locked, basically giving us frame rate enhancements, which is still good. Like you're still getting that extra hardware, that GPU. There's definitely more power there than what the PlayStation 4 and Pro had with this current generation. But again, it's like not all of the games are really going to benefit like we thought, which is kind of weird. And again, with 1080, and my reasoning for this is that the enhancer is really designed to enhance, like take a look at a snapshot of the game and how it's made and how it's presenting itself, especially with the resolution, because this is what PSSR is really for, increasing or helping dumb down the resolution, rescale it back up, and allow the native hardware to now have more breathing room to improve the frame rate and everything else, right? And but yeah, it looks that it's at 1440. It's like, oh well, it's already there, and so there's really not much I can do about that, because as we've gotten to see too with Digital Foundry, we've already seen that a lot of the PlayStation 5 games are already at 1440 or worse, even like Spider-Man 2. And this is pretty shocking because it's like we're still not even getting 4K games. And it's starting to get frustrating. The reviews for the PlayStation 5 Pro are generally not great. And it's just kind of, it's mid. Like if you have the money, cool. And if not, that's okay too. You can totally skip out on the Pro. And that's what a lot of the reviews are saying right now. Even IGN, which I was pretty surprised about. But yeah, the PS5 Pro, PS4 enhancements, it's not a broad upgrade like we were hoping for, unfortunately. It's more like a case-by-case basis because, again, it's taking a look at that resolution. Is it 1080p or is it 1440p, right? And which is more like 2K. 1440 is more like 2K, not 4K. We're not quite there. There is of course, the frame rate performance. Many games that were tested run below their cap rates on PS5, which again is kind of weird. Like Until Dawn was a pretty bad one. PS4 version, it basically gets 4 to 6 frame rate boost on PS5 Pro. I really want that to sink in. Until Dawn PlayStation 4 version gets 4 to 6 extra frames per second on the PS5 Pro. $700. GTA 6 at 4K at 60 frames? No, there's no way. There's no way in hell. And then, unfortunately, this is with enhanced quality off. When we actually turn the enhanced quality on for Until Dawn PlayStation 4 version, the frame rate drops 4 to 8 or 5 to 8 frames per second, and it runs slightly worse than what the base PS5 does. And that's insane. Like, this is, like, there's been enough out there, and again, it's your money. Like, it's not going to affect any of us, but it is not really a refresh like the PS4 Pro was, like the One X was, like the OLED model for Switch. There's actual improvements there you get to enjoy across the board for everything. And I wonder too if games are just getting too complicated, too frustrating to make it. I mean, something's got to change here because this is not sustainable. We're waiting years and years for games to come out. The refresh only gives us, small benefits basically for a heftier price tag than the original base game, first time in history. And again, this definitely is not made for everybody. It's just made more for a premium market as a premium item. But yeah, the gaming industry feels off. I think a lot of us can probably agree with that. It really is just kind of feeling off. Yeah, and it sucks. Basically, the Until Dawn PlayStation 4, the remaster. Well, here's one way to think about it. The PS4 version of Until Dawn is basically like a remaster. That's I had something else written here, but that's basically the best way to think about it. The PS4 games are getting remastered in real time as you're playing them, with whatever the hardware and software and PSSR can do to the game. The other side of that is like we're also getting remasters of some of these games. And so then if you buy the remaster and play it on a Pro, it's like you're remastering the remaster. And it's just, what are we doing here? Again, for a whole bunch of games we don't even have. Sony's canceled 6 live service games. We still have some more live service games like Fair Games and Marathon that are coming. And Astrobot was the best game this year, at least that Sony made. The other games that have been good for PlayStation 5 have been Black Myth, Wukong, Stellar Blade, and Helldivers. And those are all made by somebody else. Basically partnerships with Sony. But, yeah, what are we doing here? What are we doing with the Pro? I don't think we'll ever see another refresh after this. Until there's actually some type of big leap or big-ish leap, I don't think we'll see another refresh. Because I don't think the Pro is going to sell like we think it should. Now, in Japan, we do have some information. We know in Japan, they sold, I think it was 78,000 units in Japan. And, of course, there's more around the world, of other units. But, again, I'm really curious if we're even going to get to PS4 Pro numbers. And I'm not sure. I'm honestly not sure. Again, $700, that's tough. And just to still pay games that are now $70 to pay multiplayer that's now $80. On top of that, your controllers are $70, $75. It's really starting to get expensive. And this is where I can see what Xbox is doing and appreciate what they're doing with their campaign recently, saying that basically play on anything. Your phone is an Xbox. Your tablet is an Xbox. Your Fire Stick is an Xbox. Your Samsung TV is an Xbox, which I think the 90s and 95s have that built into the TVs. Yeah, like you can play on whatever you want because there's a lot of people that maybe can't afford the current gen. I think it's why we have half of the COD players on the PlayStation side are still on PS4. Like, think of that. Half of Sony's Black Ops 6 players are on PS4. That's crazy. And again, it's just expensive to upgrade. If I can already continue to keep playing the games that I want 5 years into the next generation, why would I need to upgrade? You don't. It's nice if you can, but you don't have to. See, I'm really curious to see what the next gen is going to do because this is just kind of becoming, in my opinion, it's just becoming a mess. It's just becoming a mess. All right, moving on. Officially, Lion and I have finished Shadow of the Erdtree. So if co-op, I think it's co-op 16, 17, those are basically the end. And then I found a secret boss that was secret to me at the end, and I shared that as well. But yeah, those are going to be on our channel at Gaming Garbage 22 if you're interested to see the final boss fight. Man, we just got wrecked on that one. And you guys too will be able to start voting basically as of Friday. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, there's going to be votes coming out, and we wanted to hear what you guys are going to want next for the next big co-op. Right now we're going through The Quarry, which is kind of a palate cleanser for us, something more chill, something more relaxing, just kind of more fun, and we're going through that, and it will be releasing. The first episode will be releasing actually pretty soon, and we'll probably roughly have 8 or less episodes to actually release for the game because The Quarry isn't super big. But yeah, we'll be getting that out too pretty soon. But yeah, be sure to vote. We would love to hear your input, even if you don't necessarily like, or want to watch a ton of the playthrough or co-op type of stuff. That's totally okay. We would still like you guys to actually vote. So, folks are frustrated with Sony's slim price for the holidays. They're taking $70 off, which is nice. Again, they're not taking $70 off for the base model, which again is kind of weird. And the reason they're frustrated with this is because the Slim used to be $400. Now it's $450. And so a $70 price cut only really saves you $20. and $20 does barely even gets you a meal at a fast food place these days. That's pretty insane. Also, the discount only lasts until December, and so this is not even an official price cut, which just blows my mind. It blows my mind. It's not even permanent. I mean, we're 5 years in and we don't even have that. And Xbox and Nintendo, they're doing the same thing. You know, I haven't even seen a single. Well, I have seen one. I think it was on Newegg, but even the Series X doesn't even have a price cut. I've seen like a $50 price cut for the Series X, and everywhere else, when it's in the Black Friday ads, it's the same price. It's like, really? Are you kidding? And then Nintendo, they're just giving sales on bundles and not the actual console itself. So yeah, the prices are static. They're not moving. They're not changing. Again, which I just think is how poor the economy is, not just for us as consumers, but also for companies. Um, but yeah, there's even consoles in Black Friday ads that don't even have a discount, like the PS5 disc version, also the Series X, and also the Switch. It's just weird. It's just a weird generation, folks. I can't wait to be done with this generation, honestly. But I don't think that'll happen really until 2028, at least for PlayStation and Xbox. Let's talk about Phil Spencer. In an interview, he's basically confirmed that more games are going to be going over to third party. With Bloomberg, we worked on talking about an article we got to see that they're very happy with the first wave of titles going over to third party. Which I think were four of them: Grounded, Sea of Thieves, Pentiment, and another one I can't remember. And so they're actually happy with those sales. And Phil Spencer expressed that there isn't really a red line to keep exclusives over to Xbox. Doesn't mean they won't send everything over to third party. Excuse me. But as they said earlier, it's really a case-by-case basis. So again, if you've been an Xbox fanboy for a long time, and you feel like you're unique, or you have some type of aura with buying an Xbox. Again, it's really kind of the same thing with PlayStation, ultimately PlayStation. Well, I'd say even with Nintendo for to an extent, because there's some games going over to PC that are available on Nintendo, which is kind of weird. They've never really done that before, but again, it's not like it's a ton of games. It's just a few of them. But yeah, the console war is over, folks. It's over. And the reason I'm actually excited about this is because of competing on a console or in a product that really doesn't make money for the companies anyway. We can now innovate and push into something else to get more people to actually just enjoy playing the games. And it's already starting to not really matter what you play on anyway. There's timed exclusives. There's stuff going over to everything's going over to PC basically, and then there's the thing of there's crossplay. So again, it's like it doesn't matter really where you are. You can still play with who you want when you want on a lot of the different games. Like being on Xbox, being on PlayStation, it doesn't really matter. And I'm ready for it to be done, because I feel like in a way this whole exclusive thing has been holding back other innovations that we could have had by now. Because again, the money and the focus could be somewhere else. Now Xbox is innovating. They're going a different route, and we'll see if it works for them. But if Sony keeps trying to play the exclusive game, I think eventually Sony is just going to be fighting against a wall by itself. And they're going to keep thinking that they're winning the console war. It's like, dude, guys, you won. You won 10 years ago. It's time to focus on something else. And I hope Sony figures that out, because, again, competition is good, but if you're not playing in the same arena, it doesn't matter what you're doing. And it just stagnates the innovation usually, most of the time. So... But yeah, a lot of people too, they're upset and frustrated about this. If there's an advantage, I think, to the IP that Xbox has sending it over to multiple platforms, which is ultimately more sales, right? More microtransactions. I think they'll eventually send it over there. Otherwise, we'll probably have a timed exclusive, right? Just like Indiana Jones. Avowed is, I think, going to be another one. Um, and again, it's like I don't think it's bad because people get to play the game on whatever they have, and I think that's cool. And Xbox also makes money off of being on other third party. I mean, Xbox is making a ton of money right now off of Black Ops 6 on PlayStation. It's great for them. So yeah, I think the business model, and the mindset have to change here, because whether we like it or not, this is just how the gaming industry is going. The console war is ending. It's over. There isn't anything else. And some people too, they're not really excited with how the current gen of consoles have really been, and so any of them. And so yeah, they're just going back to the old stuff. And I don't blame people for that either. It's been tough to see that we've had this console generation for 5 years now. We had, 2, 3 years of scalpers and price hikes and all of that stuff, and it's been frustrating. um, but yeah, it didn't really launch very well because again, there was supply shocks, and it's that stuff. But yeah, it's getting crazy. Phil Spencer in the interview also said that there are prototypes, multiple prototypes for a handheld, and that, but it is a ways off in the future. So multiple years, maybe 26, but maybe more of a launch thing. That's what I'm guessing is more of a launch thing. But I do have to rescind that. I was totally thinking that Xbox wasn't going to do a handheld because, again, there's already good handhelds out there. They'd be coming late to the market. It'd be really hard to actually break in and get those sales. But some people are excited about it. Me, not so much. I can just play on my phone or get a cheap tablet and play on that. And I don't know. It's cool for what it is for those that want it. No big deal. But yeah, I gotta say I was definitely wrong that they weren't making a handheld. They definitely are. Though there is something that he said, some of the verbiage that he said that I want to make clear is that the expectation is that they will launch a handheld. So that means it's not greenlit yet. That means that they're making these prototypes, they're doing the R&D to see if they can make something that's competitive and actually make money on it. And that it also works with the cloud and the software and all that other stuff. So it's not a guarantee yet. And all of the channels that I've seen have said, yeah, basically it's coming. And yes, it's coming if it's profitable. And they're not there yet. The big old company of Microsoft has not completely greenlit the project yet. For those that want to play on an Xbox handheld, I hope it comes. I hope that it does show up, that they do release it. But again, I'm thinking at least probably realistically 2 or 3 more years before we do actually get a launch of something like that. And then are people really going to care? I don't know. We'll have to see. But I do think it's cool that Xbox is allowing us to basically play on anything we want to play AAA titles. And that's a pretty cool thing. Phil did also say that the Xbox app is coming. It's had a lot of hiccups, and so it's been delayed longer than they thought. But this is actually going to be an app store. This isn't just going to be for games. And I'm hoping, oh my word, folks, I'm hoping we can actually get like apps that are dedicated to mods so that we can get mods in our games. I would love that. Of course, there's a lot of other opportunity there too, but that would be really big for me. So yeah, I was wrong about the handheld, and they are going to see if they can actually make one, and we'll see if Microsoft lets them do it. Let's keep going on. Dragon Quest III Remaster. Metacritic score of 85 right now. Really no user score yet, but most are enjoying the nostalgia of the game that it has. They're sticking true to that, the atmosphere, the gameplay mechanics. Some of the mechanics do feel dated compared to how we play today or how other games are, but the game runs really well, and it's actually quite enjoyable. So again, if you're looking for something to fill your time, it sounds like it's actually a pretty good one. Amazon's Freevee is actually shutting down in the coming weeks. shows that shows are basically all going to be moved over to Prime in some capacity. Some will be free on the service, and others will be paid. Need a paid subscription. But yeah, I find this kind of interesting because Amazon's already closed their Blue Studio for AAA games. That's done and over with. And now they're consolidating their TV service. And Freevee has kind of been a fairly biggish thing for them, but again, it's just too much money. The amount of revenue they're getting from it just isn't worth it. So now they're just consolidating down to actually one service that's making more money. And again, whether it's a game, whether it's a movie or TV show or a service of some kind, we're just seeing this consolidation. And I'm sure some people are also going to lose their jobs over this, and that sucks. But yeah, Amazon has also been making other changes to shipping, to pricing, to taking other benefits with Prime that used to be there that aren't anymore. And Amazon again, they're just trying to continue to save money, make those margins go up, because eventually, if you don't make enough money for long enough, you go bankrupt. You're done. And Amazon's really trying to prevent that. The threat of Ubisoft, they're actually getting sued now. Ubisoft is actually getting sued. It's official. We actually have the court documents that we can see, and this is basically over the Crew 1. We have heard about this for a couple of years now. They shut down the servers. A gamer got frustrated. There's another gamer that's joined in, and they're mentioned, of course, in the lawsuit. And they're hoping that this actually goes class action, because a lot of people did actually buy the Crew and enjoyed the Crew. And now it's just gone because it was a service and we believed that it was actually a product. And so, two gamers are officially part of the lawsuit, suing over buying the Crew 1 as a product and Ubisoft shutting it down. And basically saying that it's theft, right? They're taking something away that they bought as a product, not as a service. And that also wasn't made very clearly that it was a service or that they intended to shut it down sometime in the future. Again, if it makes money, they're not going to shut it down. They're going to just keep it going. Excuse me. Lawyers made a statement, and they're waiting to see actually what happens with Ubisoft's side. Ubisoft has to respond, and there's got to be some court dates and stuff. We're also learning, as we know, that physical copies of the Crew didn't actually have the files on the game. And this has been an issue too, is like in some capacities from these big AAAs, the game files aren't actually on the disc. And they don't give you enough discs to actually have it all be on there. And so I'll use an example of Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3 for the PlayStation had 2 discs, and for Xbox had 3. So yeah, 3 discs, it's kind of a lot, but you actually own all of the files. And you don't need an internet connection and an update and all of that other stuff. And same with Elden Ring. All the files are actually there. If you want the updated 4K and extra ray tracing stuff, you have to download that stuff as a patch. But you actually own all of the files of the game, which is great. As for the $100 Elden Ring plus Shadow of the Erdtree, I don't know if the DLC is actually on Shadow of the Erdtree. I would hope it would be, but that means there would need to be a second disc. So if I ever see one sitting on the shelf at GameStop or somewhere else, I'll actually check it out and let you guys know. So yeah, we've seen this too with everything not being on the disc, like Call of Duty, Starfield, Jedi Survivor, Modern Warfare 2. There's been a lot of these more recent games where they're not all on there. And we also need a patch day one, which is huge. It's dozens of gigabytes. Or it's most of the game. which is, again, ridiculous. Many games, even single player, they require an online connection now. And this is a problem. Because, again, if we're buying a game, the companies are treating it as a service and not actually as something else that we can actually use as a product to just be able to come back to it and play that. And so, to those that say like physical copies are where it's at, yes, if it's a real physical copy, I agree. If it's a physical copy that doesn't have all of the files on there, which is becoming more common, then buying the physical versus the digital doesn't matter. Because again, you can't download the patch that you need because the patch isn't there anymore to actually play the game. or the online connection that you need isn't on the disc to make it authentic, all that stuff. So again, it's like this is becoming more of a moot point, and this is why I like Game Pass, is because I'm ultimately accepting that physical is going away, and unfortunately, that's just how it is. The physical copies of the games that I do enjoy and I do like, I'm actually trying to buy those. Ooh, I'm having some crazy lag here on my machine. Ooh, that's fugly. Let's try that and see if that helps out a little bit. But yeah, it's just becoming a frustrating thing. Gaming will never be what it is. This is why some people too are going to the older stuff, and I don't blame them for that. I really don't. But there's still a lot of games that I enjoy. Gaming is just gaming to me. It's not like the reason why I live. My family is, and so yeah, I'll continue to play games in whatever the best way I think is possible, and so is everybody else. But again, it's like I'm enjoying having some of the older stuff. I'm enjoying having Game Pass, being able to try some of these games. And if I like the game on Game Pass, I can just go buy a physical copy if it has one, which is great. For those of you too on Steam, you're probably getting notifications now, blurp in your face on your screen when you're buying something that, yes, this is a license you're buying. You're not actually buying the game. I suggest if that frustrates you, you start buying all of your games on GOG, because they actually give you the launch execution files that you can actually download. And you don't have to have that online connection, right? You can just start it up whenever you want, just like the older games, right? Back then. Which is pretty cool. Okay, so yeah, I'm glad Ubisoft is actually having an official lawsuit. I hope it turns into a class action, because ultimately, if Ubisoft loses, this changes the industry some for the better for most of us. And I'm really hoping that's the case. Let's move on. Borderlands movie. Globally, all of the money they could make is only $31 million. They broke even on the marketing only, which was roughly about $30 million. Their total budget was about $120 million to make the movie, which Lion and I saw. It's horrible. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 3% for critics. Users gave it a 51%. I forget what Lion and I put it at, but it is just, 2, 3 out of 10. It's really bad. Borderlands 4 is coming. It's expected to be in 2025. So, yeah, we'll see how that is. The last one they put out, Tiny Tina's Wonderland, was just, I don't really want to play it again. And what they did, too, with the DLC is shameful. It's really disappointing. I'm hoping Borderlands 4 is redemptive, but I'm a pessimist at heart, and so they got to show me that it's good before I really have hope in most cases. The CEO of Sony, basically the number 2 of the company, says that they are focusing more on multiplayer games. Yay! That's what they're good at. That's what their player base is single player stuff. That's actually what's selling in most cases. Because, we don't need any more Concords. We've had enough of that. And so, how much did they actually lose before turning it around? My guess is a few $1 billion total, because, again, they canceled 6 games. Concord was a total mess because they serviced the game. They, then pushed some more to make it go gold, which is another like 100, 200 million. They also bought the studio. They also bought the IP. That cost money too. Running the studios all of that time for 3 years after they bought them. Concord was expensive. Plus all of the servers they turned online that they didn't need, and ran them for 2 weeks. So, Concord was a really, really big failure. And I think that's showing generally overall the industry too, that it's like, live service is not the deal anymore. And good, I'm glad that Sony's actually getting this. There's going to be more single player games that they're going to start making in the future. A lot of these are probably going to be launch titles for the PlayStation 6, or in the maybe first 2 to 3 years of PlayStation 6. Because again, it takes so long to actually make these games. Whether they're live service, single player, doesn't matter. It still takes a long time. We still have Fair Games, we still have Marathon, and we still have Project Gummy Bears, which we don't even know what that is. But I'm glad that Sony is starting to see the light of the consumer, and yeah, it's time to actually make what we want if they want to keep making money. Because yeah, if PlayStation fails, there goes the rest of the company. Because yeah, PlayStation is like 30%, 33% of their entire revenue. And if PlayStation goes down, Sony's not going to be like we see it today. I guarantee it. We also have Death Stranding is getting a movie. This one I'll actually go and see. Yeah, it's just another game adaptation. So if it is going to be in the theaters, I'm going to take time to see it for sure. Yeah, it's going to be produced by A24. They generally make pretty good movies. And I better play the game so that I can actually watch the movie and have some context. So thanks for tuning in, folks. That was another long one. Just getting a lot of news every week. That's just how it is. Some weeks are really, really boring. And I'm looking forward to some of those because, yeah, this takes a lot of my time. But I enjoy doing it. It keeps me up to date, and I might as well share it with y'all. So thanks for tuning in, folks. If you enjoy the content, like, sub, all that jazz. Don't forget, we also have Discord, Twitter, X, and also Twitch. Twitch, if you want to see it there first. I do everything through Twitch, so you can see the stuff that I'm streaming basically right away. For the gaming news and states of gaming, the podcasty type of stuff, I don't pull up my chat because it'll interrupt my thinking and it'll just mess it all up real bad. And that's just how I am. So I don't look at my chat while I'm doing my podcast. But gameplay type of stuff, I have my chat open. So the co-ops, the single-player stuff, doing my initial looks and reviews, I have my chat open and we'll chat with you guys during the chat. And you'll actually see that sometimes with some of my content. So thanks for tuning in as always. If you like it, like sub, also share the content too. I really think that helps. And then, we do a myriad of stuff here on the channel between Lion and I and the guys from Britain and Ireland. And anyway, yeah, I try to include people when I can, when I think it's really going to work. And I really enjoy doing that with those guys. And I enjoy sharing it all with y'all too, because the whole idea of the channel is to create not just a snapshot, but a bunch of snapshots of the gaming industry and form a picture of where it is today. And if that sounds fun, go ahead and like and sub. And with that, folks, I will see you guys on the next one.